So I'm also responsible somehow to guide the OEA into becoming from a technology-driven organization into an organization that has members with a lot of business. I think when I started up with the OEA, it clearly was a technology-driven organization. It means people were developing technology. They were trying to make sophisticated devices out of printing. I have to correct myself. Not devices, just components. And what happens right now is that it's somehow converting into an organization which takes much more care about devices itself. And the devices themselves bear a lot of challenges. It's exactly what we learned today. They have to fit into a certain business model. They have to fit into a certain environment which has requests on hardware and requests on software. And we need the right idea to come up with a customer solution. And the customer doesn't care whether it's printed or any other technology is used. The customer just cares if his need is satisfied. I think this is the good news. It's not science fiction anymore. It is now an industry area that has already started. And it has started in a way that it has become much more practical. And in the very beginning, where people had the idea, now we have to print everything because everything else than printing is forbidden, it adds too much cost. What we learn right now is this is not true. We can come up with hybrid models of devices, and these hybrid models are things that we can already produce today. And this is what is currently going on. The first start of the new industry is something that we already observe today. For example, it's more or less simple printing. Simple printing means the most simple printing is non-structured, something like coating. We can take these coatings, we can take simple printings and make something like a, let's say, polymer touchscreen out of it. We can do it with, let's say, existing materials, and we can come up, for example, with devices that are now introduced into newest generations of products. I think this is always, first of all, because we're talking about electronics, and electronics is always cost-driven. So the motivation, somehow decreasing cost of ownership, is a motivation which always drives electronic devices. And it's basically also the idea of printed electronics driving costs down dramatically so it becomes available everywhere. The other motivation is somehow add new features. And adding new features is something which in the very beginning was not very not really clarified, because the idea was just let's somehow introduce new features. Now it has become much clearer. For example, the car industry asks for conformable displays. They do not ask for flexible displays anymore. They ask for something that better fits the car interior. So this is something which is a new feature which is added, for example, to displays. So I'm very much interested right now to drive the OEA into an organization which has clear European route and international base, meaning it is clear to me that the OEA members will make business in Europe, but not alone. So it will be not a reserved area of printed electronics. North America, but also Asia, will become a significant player in the printed electronics. And so we have to open to North America, we have to open to Asia in order to enable our members making business worldwide. Yeah, there are always obstacles, but I always understand these obstacles as chances for us. The economic crisis is an important factor that drives the industry somehow everywhere to decrease cost. And this need of decreasing cost is also the chance for the printed electronics somehow to penetrate in and deliver the devices with a decreased cost. So economic crisis is not something that I really fear. I understand it really as a chance for printed electronics. So these meetings, and today we are very happy to be here at Cetemmsa. So it's a marvelous place. We are really happy to have this location today, and also the environment is a place to network. So how we understand the OEA in these meetings is each of us has a certain part of information. And in order to get it really done, to get it to a real industry, we need to exchange this information, work together, and somehow generate the total knowledge in order to make real products. And this is the, let's say, the marketplace for this information here at these working meetings. And it's not only exchanging information, it's really doing things practically together. For example, with the demonstrators. The best way to network is not just talk, but just doing something. And this doing something brings us on a learning curve that generates then the, let's say, our knowledge from a, let's say, a level where we still lack information to a level where we are successful. We are active in the area of conductive polymers. And the conductive polymers are one of the materials which are discussed to be printed and making transparent electrodes, for example. And this is one of the areas I'm highly interested in. It matches very much the desire of other companies here in the OEA, making devices which are, let's say, fully out of plastic and function like the classical electronic devices. Yeah, definitely I see it as a significant industry in the near future. What will happen is that the expression printed electronics somehow vanishes into devices which are much more easy to understand and which are certainly not printed electronics mere. It's a new device, it comes up and has a new name. And so print electronics will become an industry. Each of these devices might be not called printed electronics, but it's out of the origin is the ability to print something. In the beginning, we have started to advertise we have to print, which is a technology. And in the very beginning, it was not clear what do we want to print. Now we are accessing the point where we say this is what we want to do. We need to print, but maybe we are not calling it printed electronics anymore.